Who's the champ of foolish fame? Let's crown the buffoon of the week by name. Comic crown and a goofy streak. The title goes to our champ this week.
Ladies and gentlemen, and everybody else in between, welcome back to Buffoonology 101. Gene Berardelli and Ross Galloway here with you. Ross, what's doing, my man?
What's going on, man? The suspense is killing me.
No. I'm going to let it breathe a little bit.
All right.
Because, listen, we are friends, even though we're going through this competition. And sometimes I like to torture you a little bit. There we go. We're going to, you know what? Fuck it. Let's do it right now. So, from last week's nominations and our matchup, we can tell you that this was the closest election in Buffoonology 101 history. There were 105 votes cast. It's a great number for coming back. And my pick, Corinne Jean-Pierre, got 52.4% of the vote. Ross Galloway with Tim Walls got 47.8%. Mere percentage points this time, but it don't matter if you win by an inch or a mile. A win is a win, and I'm back, baby. We're trading wins lately. It's pretty cool.
Well done. I knew I should have voted more than once. It was so close.
Vote early, vote often. That's our kind of credo here at Buffoonology 101, and we'll go through the rules in a minute. But we got some other buffoons in the news that we've been talking about here. Who would have thought that Terry Moran would have been back in the news doing something stupid? I believe it was one of mine. He's one of mine.
It was one of yours, Gene, and we just did a show where we re-evaluated some of the scores. We're going to have to do another one soon. Maybe we bundle up another one or two people that we think we have to do again. But he's one of them, right? Like, he just imploded. Your guys stay in the news.
My buffoons have staying power. I'm very proud of that.
Oh.
And you know what? Listen, I'm sure there are going to be more and more and more as we start nominating more and more. But we got to do it again now because listen, I'm up by 2 again, and you got to catch up, man. Like I said last week, you got the hang of it. You got your style down, and you know what kind of buffoons you want to pick, right? You like to say, I have a type. You have a type as well, and that is well-settled buffoons, right?
That is my type. I'm going to see if you're going to prove me wrong on the type that I've been saying you have today.
Well, before we get back into this wacky game show that we've been doing, we're going to go through some of the rules here that govern this fun little thing we're doing called Buffoonology 101. Before the show, Ross and I have each selected our nominee to present to you for Buffoon of the Week. Each host will have 5 minutes to make their case to you as to why their nominee should earn your vote. The first 2 minutes will be uninterrupted by the other host, but after that, it's a free-for-all between the two discussing the nomination. The opposing host will then evaluate the nominee based on the criteria set forth in my award-winning best-selling book, Schnooks, Crooks, Lies, and Scoundrels, a field guide to identifying political buffoons, available right now on Amazon, at Barnes & Noble, and other online bookstores.
This guy is a grifter!
The nominee will then be given a score for buffoonish nature and buffoonish action magnitude on our Sharpton Buffoonery Matrix, but more on that later. After that, we do it all over again for the other nominee. After all the nominees have been weighed and measured, each host will then have 1 minute to plead and beg for your vote for Buffoon of the Week. You'll get to vote online in the comments and on social media and at buffoonoftheweek.com. Vote early and vote often. No one's going to be counting whether you voted more than once. And now, back to the action. Man, that is one cool sax player on that clip. Listen, I never wanted to get away from a question so badly in my life that I forgot to give some of the stats from last week as well. We had over 2,600 views across platforms for last week's show, so that's a pretty damn good accomplishment right there. And yeah, just about anything to avoid talking about what you think my type is, because You've accused me week after week after week about being a really, really bad man, and I don't want to deal with it anymore. I don't want to deal with it.
You redeem yourself right here. Was that you playing the sax in that little?
No. Sadly, no. My chops are not as good as they used to be.
Oh man, I would have loved to see that live on air.
That would have been cool. You know what? I can try to learn it. But enough about the sax. Let's get into some buffoonery. I am in control of who goes first and who goes second right now.
Bring it on.
And I'm wondering whether or not I should do the Ross Galloway give me the ball, or if I should be the champion awaiting the challenge of the challenger. Nah, I'm going first. There are some buffoons out there that are simply timeless. They are always going to be buffoons, whether they intend to be or not. They are so practiced at the art of making fools of themselves that it's become second nature. My buffoon nominee this week is one of those buffoons. In fact, she's on the cover of my book, and she's pretty prominently featured right there. My nominee is Congresswoman Maxine Waters. I pick her because of the sheer just magnitude of the buffoonish action that she committed this week in the context of the LA riots. Like in this clip, where she thought that she was going to be able to get into an ICE facility that was basically under siege by rioters. And she got a pretty rude awakening.
No, I want you to... Hello. Congresswoman Waters. I just came to use my congressional authority to check on David.
Ma'am, our lobby is securely now to all visitors.
Excuse me, I need to get in.
Contact our public appeal.
I need to get in.
Denied. Sit down.
That's right. Denied. Move aside, Congresswoman. There's a riot going on. She actually thought that she could get into a facility because of that whole congressional oversight statutory authority. Meanwhile, look around what was going on, Maxine. And the reason why she was getting in was not to do any sort of real oversight. It was because she wanted to see how a gentleman named David Huerta was doing. He's a union head, one of her allies, who I guess got a little too close to a car trying to enter the ICE facility, and once was told to move, didn't move, and then he was moved himself. Now, that would normally be enough for a buffoon with a bun the size of Maxine Waters. But no, there is another clip I want to show you where Maxine Waters tries to tell you, stop believing your lying eyes and listen to her about what's going on.
And even those who were out of step with what we are advocating, peaceful protest, did not create any violence. Nobody was shot, nobody was killed. Get it in your head. And so, when martial law is called, what are you going to say? I missed the point. Don't miss the point, you all. Don't think that somehow, because they called out the National Guard, there was violence. There was no violence. I was on the street. I know. And I went from downtown detention back out into the community, talking to people what happened in Paramount, what happened in Compton, what happened in Inglewood. So, first of all, get it straight. And don't just rely on what you're being told or the few incidents that you saw.
You can jump in any time, pal. The video evidence is there, regardless of whatever you think of me. This is some undeniable buffoonery. You can jump in anytime you want to. I can keep on going about Maxine Waters if you want. The lunatic that she is.
I think Kanye West once said it best. Gene Berardelli hates black people. All right. You went with Maxine Waters. Well played.
If that's the best you can go with, I'm winning. If that's the best you got, I'm winning.
No, I mean, well played. She's clearly a buffoon. For this week, you pretty much could have like cast a line into California and plucked out any politician from that state, and
honestly, that's what we're doing right now.
Yeah,
you'll see later on. This is the battle of California buffoons.
Yeah, for the side by side, like you basically just made an RNC ad for the midterm elections right there, right? And not so much against her, but against every Democrat running across the country, right? Like they are the party of chaos, and their leaders are old buffoons like Maxine. So great pick. I mean, I really can't say nothing bad about it.
And honestly, Buffoon is the nicest thing we can say about a lot of these, especially Maxine Waters. She had the audacity to try to get into this ICE facility with riots and fires and violent people all around. And they rightly said, this place is closed. You can't come in. And it's not like she was going in to see if, everyone in the facility was okay or what was going on there. She was going in there to see a union head, an ally. She wasn't there to do actual oversight. She was there to politic.
Yeah, and that's what I mean. Like they throw around the term oversight like it means something. And Maxine Waters is a very dumb person to begin with. Like you said, buffoon's a nice way to put it. What oversight was she there to conduct? Right? No one ever calls her out. Right? I've never seen a reporter ask for clarification. Like, what specifically were you going in there for? Is there legislation pending? Are you thinking about cutting their budget? Like, what are you doing there in the middle of a riot?
Well, she's there for optics and for politics, much like she was when she was outside telling people to confront members of the Trump administration back in, I think it was 2018. It's the same thing when she was in Minnesota threatening the jury in the Derek Chauvin trial. She was in Milwaukee doing the same thing. Maxine Waters is not there for good politics or for good government. She's there for Maxine Waters. She's a rabble-rouser. She's a buffoon. She's a cocky-duty poopy head, much like Ross Galloway. And this week, it took a lot, but she's clearly the best choice for Buffoon of the Week.
More of her, please.
Well, no, thank you. I'd rather not. But she has been chosen. I've given you my reasons. And now it's time to score this buffoon and place her on our Sharpton Buffoonery Matrix. And to do that, you got to learn a little something about what we call the buns and the bams. Let's talk buns.
My buns!
No, not those. And definitely not those. I'm talking about our personal buffoonish nature. A decade of collective observations has shown that everyone, to some degree, has a bun. You, me, everybody. The size of their buns is directly related to a buffoon's propensity to do stupid things.
Look at the size of that thing.
And then there's bam, bam, bam. Buffoonish action magnitude. That's our measurement of how big a whoopsie a buffoon made. The bigger the mistake, the greater the magnitude. We then plug these values into our Sharpton Buffoonery Matrix, named for the alpha and omega of buffoonery, the Reverend Al Sharpton.
Modern problems require modern solutions,
which is our visual representation of a buffoon's bum to bam ratio. And here's the best part. After we tally up the worst offenders, you decide. You get to cast your vote, share your thoughts, and you determine who earns the dubious distinction of Buffoon of the Week, which we'll record as the weeks go by.
Gene, well played, man. I know I bust your chops a lot about your picks, but when I think of Al Sharpton or Sharpton-esque, Maxine Waters pops into my head. She is like an old, frail female version of Al Sharpton. Like, remember throughout the 80s, Al Sharpton would always appear and be talking nonsensical untruths. That's her, right? So very good pick, man. I want to say, of all the people we've discussed over the last few months, this pick probably has the greatest bun of anyone. Right now, I think James Comey tops our chart at 82. I want to at least tie that with the option of later on revisiting Comey, because I do think she is one of the biggest buffoons with the greatest staying power that we've discussed so far.
Oh, she's the grande dame of buffoonery for sure. And yeah, Maxine's got a big old bun. I agree with that.
So if you think that's fair, that's what I'd like to do with that.
And by the way, since Wen is giving me a hard time calling me racist. That's giving a hard time now. Really? Kind of
Apparently-
minimizing it, don't you think?
Listen, it hasn't been working, so it's not relevant.
I'm still winning because, hey, what can I say? We got a racist audience. Oh, there they go. Can't do that.
Yeah. Yes, bash the audience. That's a good
Yes.
way to win.
Racist like me, wink, wink. Sure. All right. What's the BAM here, though? What's the BAM? Tell
So
me
the
about BAM.
magnitude, like she's a buffoon. One of the things I've noticed about her, though, they keep her at bay. She's kind of harmless. Like, there's nothing she's ever said or done. I know we always make a big deal about it on the right when she says dumb things, but she's harmless. And even the dumb stunt she tried to pull there, you almost feel bad for her because she's like one trip up a flight of stairs away from being like Joe Biden territory, right? Like, she's not all there. She's old. She has no business being in Congress. She tried to get in ICE. They slammed the door. And then the side-by-side there was terrific, where she's claiming there's no violence. But for magnitude, it's Sharpton-esque, no doubt. But I want to say to the neighborhood of 5.5 gigasharptons, give or take.
Fair. That's fair. Listen, ultimately, Maxine Waters is kind of held at bay by the Democrat leadership. It's not like she's there. She's ubiquitous. She's always there when there's something going on. But in the grand scheme of things, what does she really contribute to the downfall of political discourse? It's just, there goes Maxine again. You know, it's...
Yeah, nobody's claiming she's the future of the party. Like in AOC, you know, people actually flirt with the idea that she's the future of the party. Maxine, they just tolerate her because she's in a safe seat and has a lot of money.
Pretty much it. Well, that's my half of the Battle of California. You ready to give your half?
All California, all night. I am ready.
All right, let's get to it.
All right, all California, all night. My pick is Governor Gavin Newsom. Little known fact, Gene's middle name actually is Gavin. Cool story there. So obviously you guys have been watching the news. LA riots happening again. LA riots just seems like a thing that happens all the time. And Gavin Newsom is complaining that Donald Trump activated some National Guardsmen from his state. By the way, California National Guard authorized up to 24,000 guardsmen when you calculate all their reserve forces there. Donald Trump activated 2,000 or 3,000 of them. So he's crying the blues that he has no National Guard for himself. He still has the vast majority of troops under his own command, right? He claims he doesn't want federal troops in his jurisdiction. They're California National Guardsmen. They're reservists that live in California. They're from the community. So he comes on TV last night or Tuesday night, and his big retort, his basic address to the nation, disaster. Gene, cue up that video real quick.
Hang on, let's listen in on Gavin Newsom, then I'll give you a chance to respond first. I don't think we have any volume. All right, I guess we have no... Is that on their end or is it on our end? I'm asking. That's on their end, apparently a live feed. All right, I'm talking to my control room, and they're telling me there's no audio available. I'm trying to put Gavin Newsom up. We can show a shot of it again.
And the majority of Angelenos who protested peacefully, the situation was winding down and was concentrated in just a few square blocks downtown. But that's not what Donald Trump wanted. He again chose escalation.
It went dead again.
Not all of us is about this. California may be first. California may be first, but it clearly will not end here. Other democracy are next. Is democracy. Democracy is under assault. Is before our eyes. This moment, our eyes. This moment has arrived.
All right, we have apparently more audio problems and more of the feed problems with Gavin Newsom.
That was his big address to the nation there. Started off with no sound, glitching throughout the whole thing. That is the perfect description of him and his leadership in that state. So let's just really talk quick about why he's a buffoon and what's going on in LA. Sanctuary city policies, right? They no cooperation between ICE. They can't pick up illegal alien criminals from local law enforcement there. But it's worse. They can't cooperate in any way, shape, or form. So when the federal buildings were being overtaken, local law enforcement could not help them. So the only thing the president could do to stop basically an insurrection was to activate troops to go and protect federal buildings, right? That's the only way. And it was an insurrection. There were foreign flags being flown throughout the city as they were rioting, burning down cars, attacking police, and spitting on soldiers. That's exactly what was happening. So when he did manage to spit out some words, Gene, play that video real quick. This is the crux of his argument.
Thanks to our law enforcement officers and the majority of Angelenos who protested peacefully, the situation was winding down and was concentrated in just a few square blocks downtown. With that, that's not what Donald Trump wanted. He again chose escalation. He chose more force. He chose theatrics over public safety. Donald Trump's government isn't protecting our communities. They're traumatizing our communities. And that seems to be the entire point. California will keep fighting. It will keep fighting on behalf of our people, all of our people, including in the courts.
Remember, just a few months ago, those wildfires in California burned that city to the ground nearly. Tens of thousands of homes destroyed. No water in the fire hydrants. Permits to rebuild still not approved. And I'm going to end with this. His biggest city is literally on fire again.
Again, yeah. The man's delusional. Let's start with that.
It's so bad, Gene, that they might not be able to host the Olympics next year. And wait for this. They're blaming Donald Trump. Okay.
Yeah, they're blaming Donald Trump. They're blaming ICE. I love this argument that the operation of regular order in law enforcement causes criminality. What kind of freaking logic is that?
Yeah, just the mayor of the city, who's Gavin Newsom's right-hand woman there, basically just said, if ICE just stops enforcing immigration law, the riots will stop. Like, that's the logic out there. And Gavin Newsom wants to be president, people. Like, we have to, once he runs for president, God forbid he ever becomes president, he can never be nominated again, right? So, like, this is our chance. This is our chance to put him on the map. Give me the win this week.
Listen, the fact of the matter is he's not ready for prime time. He filed a lawsuit, went for a temporary injunction, couldn't get it, which means he couldn't survive on the likelihood of the merits of his own argument.
Where did he file that case, Gene?
He filed it in San Francisco, which is where he used to be mayor. Meanwhile, the district court where that was filed in is not where the state capital is. It's not where these riots are happening. He basically forum shopped his way into what he thought was a favorable jurisdiction. And even then, he couldn't get the temporary relief that he was looking for. Buffoonish. Absolutely. But dangerous. Not in the way of Maxine Waters. A lot more dangerous. So I'm setting you up for an argument there.
No, I agree. This guy wields real power. He has real ambition to move on. He thinks he's leading the Democratic Party. From COVID to the wildfires and everything in between, this guy is a disaster. He's a train wreck. Dangerous man.
Very, very dangerous and calculating. It's almost as if he wanted Trump to come into the state so he could be making this principled stand against him. Like he calculated this sort of tragedy would occur.
Yeah, and we talked about this on Wednesday, Gene. He's literally setting the stage for Donald Trump to, and rightfully so, to declare an insurrection in California.
Gruesome Newsom of the Pelosi Newsoms. Man's been around for a long time, riding the coattails of that old hag, and he has now wormed his way into the national spotlight. So basically, as one fades into old age, much like Maxine Waters, a new one emerges. Gavin Newsom is undeniably a buffoon. He's undeniably a pretty big buffoon. Too much to almost talk about here. I mean, do you remember during COVID when Gavin Newsom was dining out in fine restaurants without a mask while the rest of the state was locked down? Do you remember when Gavin Newsom during COVID shut down roller coasters because he thought that roller coaster riding would be a super spreader? We covered it all at Buffoonology.com. Cheap plug, but whatever. So the man, what I'm saying is the man has staying power. He's been around for a long time, going back even into his days as mayor of San Francisco. He's got a pretty big bun, that bun's only been growing exponentially in the decade of Trump, as I want to call it. The stupidity of debating Ron DeSantis during a presidential year, it goes on and on. So I'm going to award him the bun that he deserves. And being patriotic, I think I'm going 76. 76 buns in a big parade coming up next week. And I think that Gavin Newsom would personify 76 buns. What are you thinking?
I think it's fair, man. Newsom is a heavy hitter when it comes to buffoonish nature.
We got two heavy hitters from a heavy hitter state going at each other here. Buffoonish action magnitude, this one was kind of tough for me. Because you have one funny haha buffoonish moment with the glitching out of that speech, which is just proof that Newsom and his team are just not ready for prime time. I don't know what is in the water in California with all these arrogant and audacious politicians who think they can run the country, like Kamala Harris, like Gavin Newsom. I don't get it. None of them are ready to tackle the big boy chair or the big girl chair or whatever you want to call it. But then you also got to mix in there the scary lack of sense of reality that Gavin Newsom has when looking at what's going on in his own state. Much like Maxine Waters denying that there was any violence. Gavin Newsom was saying, it was only a couple of blocks and things were dying down. And then Trump came in and agitated everyone. Well, how is executing, pursuant to law, an agitation? That's called life. By looking at it in this skewed fashion and having this very warped sense of reality and then not being able to meet the moment, at least technically in that video, I'm going definitely Sharpton-esque. It's bigger than James Comey with his photo of his seashell, because that was a funny haha moment. But it's also serious, but it's maybe not as serious as Jake Tapper distorting 4 years of the Biden administration. So I'm going somewhere in the middle there, probably closer to Comey. I'm going 14.99 gigasharptons, just short of 15.
I'll take it, because I have a feeling Gavin Newsom ain't coming out of the news anytime soon.
Well, let's say this. Gavin Newsom has more opportunities for buffoonery in his future than Maxine Waters does. I'll leave you guys to conclude why.
She's definitely got more past than future left.
And now we've come to the conclusion of the show where Ross and I will have 1 minute each to beg, plead, grift, and maybe even bribe you to choose our nominee for Buffoon of the Week. Because I won last week and I chose to go first, I'm going to keep on going first.
Wait, yep. Okay. Go.
Ross Galloway has been nominating some heavy hitter buffoons. Undeniable. Gavin Newsom, another heavy hitter like Tim Walz. But if we're looking honestly at buffoonery, and we're looking not only about what they did, but also track record, you can't get a bigger track record of buffoonery than Maxine Waters. Maxine Waters is the queen of buffoonery the same way that Al Sharpton is the king. Sharpton may have done more, but she's just up there as well. In this particular instance, she does what she always does in making a bad situation even worse. It's embarrassing. It's funny to watch sometimes, which is the heart of buffoonery. But Maxine Waters is dangerous in the sense that people actually look to her for leadership. Could you imagine being one of those people? Send a message to those people and make Maxine Waters this week's Buffoon of the Week.
And go.
You got to pick Gavin Newsom. I mean, this guy is a slimy used car salesman with a fake smile. First of all, I wouldn't even buy a car from a guy like Gavin Newsom. If you walk into a car dealership and that's the guy trying to sell you a car, don't buy it from him. LA's on fire again, and nobody's surprised, right? This just is like a normal thing. Los Angeles goes on fire, either literally or through riots and insurrections every few months under the leadership of Gavin Newsom. Don't forget the same guy, by the way. Electric car mandate, green energy mandates that led to blackouts. There's a mass exodus of people leaving the state of California. He actually got dumped by Kimberly Guilfoyle a few years ago, and she wound up hooking up with Don Jr. This is a dangerous, dangerous man. And in the middle of an insurrection in his state's largest city, not only did he have those glitches in his little State of the Union address there, but he called Donald Trump a dictator again, right? This is your Buffoon of the Week.
All right, there you have it. Ladies and gentlemen, everybody in between, the nominations have been presented to you. You now have the nominees placed before you. The polls are open. Who you got for this week's Buffoon of the Week? Is it Maxine Waters? Is it Gavin Newsom? You can vote right now on YouTube, on X, on our website, buffoonoftheweek.com. By the way, we can also open up a poll I found out on Getter, pal. So we're going to do Getter this week as well.
Very nice.
And also in the comments, wherever you see this video or any other video concerning this week's Buffoon of the Week. By the way, pal, incidentally, my middle name's Robert. It's not Gavin.
Oh. I don't know where I got that from.
I don't know where you got it from either. I don't know what you're trying to say there, pal. But...
By the way, Gene's Edition 2 just came out. Maxine Waters has been removed and replaced with Gavin Newsom.